Hello everyone, my name is Aarti and you're watching HW News. The second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in India is an unforgettable period in the lives of all of us. Each and every person in the country was affected by the second wave. The virus spread not only to the cities but also to the villages and wreaked havoc unprecedented in decades. Young, old, men, women, rich, poor, you ask anyone. The shopkeeper in your Kirana store, your barber, your milkman, maybe your driver, the riksha driver struggling to earn money, or maybe your maid. You wouldn't find a single person who has not been affected during the second wave of the pandemic. Such was the horrific grip of the virus in those 1.5 months. Professor Manoj Jha rightly called it a nightmare. The 1.5 month of nightmare, collective nightmare. And it is a nightmare that we all lived, we all witnessed, and some of us survived it, and many didn't. Rather, they couldn't. When I talk about the second wave, the images that come to my mind are of helplessness. Helpless patients not getting oxygen and their relatives running helter-skelter, begging the hospital authorities to supply oxygen to their patients for few minutes. Helpless doctors having to decide who gets whatever little supply of oxygen they had. Helpless hospital chiefs crying on camera and begging for more supply of oxygen. Images of people lining outside oxygen providers in scorching heat to arrange an oxygen cylinder. Images of people trying to breathe for few minutes at oxygen lungers. And how can we forget some of these pictures? Like this. If you did not find yourself in any of these situations, you might consider being thankful to whichever supreme power you believe in, because the system on which we rely during such times had surrendered completely. These visuals that I just showed you are proof enough to show the extent of oxygen crisis at the peak of the second wave of the pandemic. And yet, it takes immense insensitivity to claim that no deaths due to lack of oxygen have been specifically reported by the states and union territories. Well, the Health Ministry was asked a question by Congress MP K.C. Venugopal. He asked whether it is a fact that large number of COVID-19 patients in India died on roads and in hospitals due to acute shortage of the oxygen in the second wave. The question also asks about statewide details of oxygen demanded and supplied and what steps the government has taken to ensure that there will not be any oxygen shortage in the future in case if there is a third wave. And here is the answer given by Junior Health Minister Bharti Pawar. She has been recently inducted into the Modi cabinet. Her reply was, and I quote, "Health is a state subject. Detailed guidelines for reporting of deaths have been issued by the Union Health Ministry to all the states and union territories. Accordingly, all the states and union territories report cases and deaths to Union Health Ministry on regular basis. However, no deaths due to lack of oxygen has been specifically reported by the states and union territories." This was the answer given by Bharti Pawar. Now again, the question was whether it is a fact that a large number of COVID-19 patients died on the roads and in hospitals due to acute shortage of oxygen in the second wave. This is not an open-ended question. The answer to this is either yes or no. And then, if yes, why yes? And if no, why no? But the government reply in the first line itself shifts the entire responsibility to the states. And then it says that such a data has not been specifically reported by the states or union territories. I will come to the state's responsibility and the center responsibility part later on, but first I want to answer that question. The government may not have the data, but I do have, and it just took me a quick Google search to find it out. The government is too busy to maybe find the data. So, here it goes. On the 3rd of May, 15 critical COVID-19 patients lost their lives due to acute shortage of oxygen in smaller hospitals of Gurugram during the last week of April. Ashok Kathuria, director of Kathuria Hospital in Old Gurugram said, and I quote, "Due to shortage of oxygen, 4 COVID-19 patients had died in the hospital. Now we have stopped admission of new COVID-19 patients as we cannot risk someone's life, and why should we face family's anger without any mistake on our part?" On the same day, 24 people died at Chamarajnagar Hospital in Karnataka. The patient's relatives said that it was due to oxygen shortage, but the government is in denial. On 5th of May, 5 COVID-19 patients were dead at Roorkee due to oxygen shortage. There was disruption in oxygen supply to the facility for around 30 minutes. On the same day, 7 people died in Kalaburgi and Belgavi districts in Karnataka, and it was also blamed on oxygen shortage. On the same day, 13 COVID-19 positive patients died in Tamil Nadu. Families blamed low oxygen supply. Officials, however, denied the claim that 13 COVID-19 patients died due to oxygen scarcity in 24 hours. However, the relatives of the deceased have confirmed the reports that patients indeed died due to the oxygen supply shortage. Let us talk about 10th of May. 7 patients died at Telangana's King Koti Hospital due to oxygen shortage. The oxygen tanker, which was supposed to supply the life-saving gas, got delayed. On May 16th, in the 5 days, as many as 83 people died at Goa Medical College, many of them due to lack of oxygen. On record, Goa Health Minister Vishwajit Rane had said that 26 people died due to oxygen shortage in that hospital. 45 COVID patients died from shortage of oxygen in Andhra Pradesh alone in the month of May. And in the national capital, 12 people died due to oxygen shortage in Batra Hospital and 25 people died at Jaipur Golden Hospital. And these were the reports that were widely available in the public domain. Several hospitals were turning patients away. According to a TOI article, as many as 195 deaths from 5 states are blamed on oxygen shortage. Now, Batra Hospital medical director says that such deaths are never mentioned as deaths due to oxygen shortage, but as cardiorespiratory failure. Now, that's a technicality. A lot of people are also defending the government, saying that, well, the center just compiled the data, the states collected it, it is their fault. Agreed. The states should have done better. But the junior health minister giving this answer is the MBBS doctor herself. Shouldn't she have known this? The states may not have given the data to the center, but when the question was asked in the parliament, wasn't it the responsibility of the health ministry to find out how many deaths have happened due to shortage of oxygen in the country? But then again, no data is the favorite answer of the government of the day to shrug off the responsibility. And also, this is not new for the Modi government. One may remember the famous NDA mantra of the Modi government from last year, that is, no data available. For example, when Aarogya Setu's website said it was developed by the National Informatics Center and the IT Ministry, but both claim to have no knowledge of who created the app in response to a right to information query. Or when it said it had no details of PM cares, or when it said it had no data of deaths of migrant workers and even the job losses. Well, the oxygen crisis is not something that happened in some remote corner of the country and now we are seeking the data about it. It happened in front of our eyes. It is documented and it is in public domain. Leave that. It is what families have experienced by themselves. We have seen videos of people crying outside hospitals, how their loved ones were alive a moment ago and then oxygen supply got over and they lost their life. All this cannot be denied. All those who lost lives because of the failure of the governments, be it state government or the central government, both deserve to be acknowledged. Supreme Court, High Court has spoken about this. You cannot just put the entire responsibility on the states in the middle of a pandemic. Health is a state subject. This has become a catchphrase for many ministers and leaders of the central government, but in case of a pandemic, the center's role is equally important, and this is what the Constitution says. So you cannot say that the state did not do their job, so we don't have the info. You make the states collect that info or access the publicly available information and present it to us. You are answerable to the parliament and to us. and thus you are the one who should be providing this information to us. That is all for today's video. Do let us know what you think about this in the comment box below. For more news and updates, you can log on to www.hwnews.in.